Uh, is he that deeply convinced on the principles involved? Or is he transactional about these things? That's really the big problem.
Beautiful, beautiful. Basta matuwa lang siya sa manangyari. Ibahin niya yung policy. Biglang kausap niya si Xi Jinping. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's cut a deal. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, because President Xi Jinping, remember, offered the U.S. to divide the world. He said, "We'll take the South China Sea beyond the first island chain that's yours. The world is too big for both of us. Why do we have to quarrel and spend money uselessly?" I mean, Trump is very transactional, and he could say, "Yeah, that's correct. Uh, we don't want to be spending for these people who don't want even to spend on their defense."
I hope he'll be busy enough with tweeting and fighting people domestically so he can allow the professionals to do the job, right? Because I won't be surprised he's gonna tweet against Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, everyone that went after him is gonna call judges in Manhattan who convicted him. So let's just hope he'll keep busy on his Twitter feed and all of that with Elon Musk and all. But it's risky, yeah. I mean, either way. But nevertheless, Justice, do you think that under Trump, baka ma-pressure din ang Pilipinas to be more aggressively involved in the Taiwan issue, host more EDCA sites, more American weapon systems, medyo ipitin tayo ng konti? Isn't that the concern? Because that's what I hear from a lot of my American counterparts na the Trump administration was much more pressuring. Yun lang, nagkataon lang digong yung presidente noon. But this time, na it's BBM, baka they feel they can push the Philippines more, no, na to, well, essentially toe their line on China. Do you think there's enough convergence with US to be okay with that scenario? What should we do?
Well, of course, personally, I have not really seen Trump being very involved in the defense of Taiwan. It's his people who are very strongly in favor of defending and assisting Taiwan, but Trump himself, not so much. So there will be a battle there, but let us assume that the U.S. will want more EDCA sites. But these EDCA sites are just warehouses where they will leave their HIMARS, their Typhoons with us. Their people will not be around. In effect, they are leaving this equipment, these
Pleasing to
missiles
us.
with us in case China invades. And China will see that we have these weapons. This serves as deterrent already. So I'm even in favor of that because these are not American troops' boots on the ground. These are just their weapons. And I will be happy to take their weapons.
So you see there's still a way to leverage this China hawk, medyo crazy, medyo chaotic Trump administration that they may end up. I mean, in short, ang sinasabi mo, Justice, here is we can leverage yung ating position, right? We're in the middle of Taiwan, in the Pacific, mahalaga na tayo sa West Philippine Sea. We can leverage that to get the maximum, best weapon systems, everything, the transfers, because this is what a lot of Republicans are saying, right?
Yeah.
That we have to help the Philippines. It's a frontline state. They're important. They're doing so. Rubio wrote something in favor of that last year.
For example, there are 9 EDCA sites. So we'll ask them, how can you be asking for more EDCA sites when you have not filled up the warehouses of these EDCA sites, existing 9? So put your HIMARS here, your Typhoons here, and other weapons here. So the Chinese will look at us and say, oh, the Filipinos have HIMARS, they have Typhoons. So that's deterrence already.
It's because it could target also their military systems in both West Philippine Sea and also southern China.
Yeah, it will reach southern China. That's why they're really worried about the Typhoons, because that gives us the capability to strike them back in their homeland.
And puts us in a very important position. Justice,
this is all about deterrence. I'm not saying
absolutely,
that
yeah.
we will go. This is just deterrence. In other words, they know that we can give them a bloody nose.
I mean, why should we use them if there's no reason to use them, right? So, hindi ko
Yeah.
na-gets yung sinasabi ng mga makapili. Ay, sorry, yung mga ibang experts na ano to, provocative daw tayo, troublemaker daw tayo. This is classic gaslighting. This is classic victim blaming. We're just doing the minimum here to enhance our position. On this point, Justice, aren't you worried na maging more militaristic ang approach under Trump 2.0 at the expense of what you are pushing for, which is more legal warfare, more rules-based order? Because this is Trump, but Trump is not a rules-based order guy. I mean, let's be honest about it. Neither in his life, nor his political career, nor in his philosophy of international affairs, if any. Wouldn't be medyo difficult for us to push for a more legal warfare approach when we are allied to a country that now will be under a man who's known as defiant of rule of law at home and rules-based order abroad potentially, or at least that's the perception.
Well, Trump is saying that he's not going to provide military and economic assistance anymore to Ukraine. So what's going to happen is Ukraine will have to depend on the EU countries and UK, and at the same time rely more on the rule of law. And that is also what we should be doing, because we really don't know what's in the mind of Trump. I mean, he could just tell Xi Jinping, "Yeah, let's make a deal. You take the South China Sea. The dividing line is first island chain, and we don't have to spend money defending the South China Sea, because those countries there don't even spend for their own defense." And that could happen. The U.S. has been an isolationist country twice in its history, and they can return to being isolationist. And Trump could be the one, because he's thinking of inward focus. He's going to raise the tariff well up to 200% against China.
And I
So
agree. I agree on Europe and the Middle East. That's a sentiment, but isn't there enough bipartisan and also popular anger at China? Because China is seen by majority of large plurality
yes,
of Americans as the number one threat to the U.S. Isn't
yes,
that enough pressure on them to stand their ground here with us?
yes. That's why I'm saying below Trump, all the people, all the military commanders, the U.S. Senate, the U.S. Congress, everybody in the State Department, they're united in seeing the China threat, not only mainland China, but the threat of China in the South China Sea. But the guy who makes the decision is Trump, and he could be, he's an outlier.
Yeah, he's a commander
So
in
we
chief.
really
Yeah,
don't know. So we really have to prepare.
to be
So
self-reliant.
our own strategy should be: what if Trump accepts the offer of President Xi to divide the Pacific? So we will lose the West Philippine Sea to China in that case, because if today the U.S. will withdraw from the South China Sea, tomorrow the 9-10 line becomes the boundary of China. So we have to prepare for that day, and I thought that this would happen maybe 10-20 years from now, but it looks like it could happen anytime now. So we have to prepare and accelerate our modernization, strengthen our Navy and Air Force.
And accordingly, we should probably also work with some of our neighbors who are also worried. Korea, Japan, Australia, right? And Taiwan, not to mention, right? Everyone is gonna get hurt. I'm big time if they caught that essentially a Chinese Monroe Doctrine, right? Sa'yo na itong first island chain, di ba? Good luck na sa inyo. Huwag na tayo mag-away. Offer na natin tong second island chain, di ba? I mean, again, this is a worst case scenario. But do you think that's the natural way? We should work with Japan, with Korea, with Australia, because kawawa rin yung mga bansa na yan if mapabayaan sila ng America on their own.
Yeah, we have to work with them, but our first line of defense is really to strengthen our own internal, our Navy and Air Force by acquiring more of these BrahMos type missiles or
At
HIMAR
napabilis. Kasi kung
missiles.
submarine yan at aircraft, matagal yan eh. At saka mahal.
At saka yung submarine napakamahal. At
Oh,
least yung BrahMos, you can have several batteries spread in Palawan and in
right,
Luzon. For
right.
one submarine, you can have a lot of those BrahMos missiles, missile batteries, no, and they are mobile. So we there's the way I look at it. There's urgency really to strengthen our air and naval capability because we don't know what will happen. For me, it's a big question mark. While we have the people under Trump and everybody down the line are with us on the South China Sea. Trump himself, really do not know what's in his mind. He could change his mind anytime.
We just don't trust him. Let's just put it that way. We just don't trust the guy. Great guy,
Well,
wonderful
if you
guy.
have a guy who says, uh, I will end the war in one day in Ukraine. I mean, we all know that will not happen. So you really don't know what's in his mind. He can end the war by telling Ukraine, you give up. We will be supporting Russia, so just give up now. That's how he can end the war in one day because Ukraine will never give up. But if US said we are now allied with Russia, teklop yung ano,
Oh, and then Elon
the
Musk, his
Ukraine will
friend
fold
says,
up.
I want
The war will end in one day.
exactly. And Elon Musk was on the call when Zelensky and Trump just had. I mean, Elon Musk could just say, sorry, SpaceX, we won't give you any access anymore to internet and all. Patay ang communication systems niyo. Bahala kayo dyan.
Well,
They can do that.
their drones will not work without without Starlink. Their
Yeah,
drones
Starlink.
will be blind.
Exactly. So that's that. So in short, Justice, obviously, a responsible national security strategy is prepare for the worst while hoping for the best, right? So
Yes,
we're
correct.
happy that they're China hawks, whatever, that could be helpful, but there's the Trump element, which is completely indeterminate, if I can put it in from a
Yeah.
physics, quantum mechanics point of view. So you prepare for the worst, and the worst is complete abandonment by the US and cutting off a deal in the coming.
Yes, and this has to do with the AFP modernization because the under the 2024 General Appropriations Act, they did not fund. Congress did not fund the AFP modernization. They transferred the fund uh, to the DPWH for the pork barrel, and they're raiding now PhilHealth, PDIC, and other government agencies. So I think uh, let's prioritize. Do we want to put there our budget, our funds for pork barrel or for AFP modernization, considering this threat now?
Yeah, this is serious. I mean, di ba nakaltasan pa yung defense budget natin? Bato posted something about it. Did you see that, Justice? There was something about the defense procurement budget na marami nagalit na sabi nila, ano na nangyari dito? Kulang na tayo ng defense spending tapos kinakaltasan pa yata ni Bato or some of these people.
Yeah, actually, they defunded the AFP modernization by transferring the fund to the DPWH for pork barrel, and so they put the AFP modernization in the unprogrammed appropriations. That means unfunded.
Yan tayo. Shucks.
Now they are now getting the money from PhilHealth, from the poorest of the poor.
When you say they, Justice, who are you?
I mean, the people who passed the law, the General Appropriations Act. That's Congress.
That's Congress. Yeah, that's Congress. Oh my goodness, these people. I mean, hindi ba klaro sa kanila na kailangan talaga natin mag-double down? Now, obviously, Justice, it looks like we may have a new Duterte, not in Manila, but in Jakarta. Our good friend Prabowo just cut a deal to have a joint development agreement with China without consulting any of his international. All my friends in Indonesia are like up in arms and saying, I said, welcome to Manila 2017, 2016.
Yeah, I understand that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia was outside of the loop. They were not consulted.
So Duterte.
And they came out now with a statement. They practically reversed what Prabowo agreed to. So they're trying to they're trying to have some damage control. So I think at the end of the day, they will reverse themselves. Because that means at bottom that they are recognizing the 10-dash line of China.
Yun nga eh. I just don't think Prabowo understood what was the implication. In fact, many also paid attention to Prabowo releasing the video of his talk with Trump. And then there was a China daily newspaper on his table. So parang, what are you trying to say? So you can see this guy is more of a vlogger, influencer type, rather than a nuanced statesman. He's more of a showman, no? Delikado. Medyo digong ang vibes niya sa akin so far. I was hoping it'd be more like BBM, at least in a sense that, yes, problematic, questionable, but at least my sense of international affairs. So good luck sa Indonesia. I
So
hope you learn
I'm
from.
happy that, like here in Manila, there are people who are reacting to this unilateral decision of Prabowo, no?
I mean, the fact na he picked, kasi si Prabowo, nilagay rin niya yung mga alalay niya dyan sa, mga top position eh. He didn't put many competent guys inside the government. Some of my friends who I hope will be the farm minister or something, medyo nagdalawang isip yata eh. At saka, so that was a big amateur hour mistake. Now, speaking of BBM, last week, Justice, we signed etong bagong batas to really clearly demarcate our baselines law based on not only on-clause per se, pero itong arbitration case natin. I know for a while na hold back ito. I'm not gonna name names sa Senate, but there were some people creating troubles kasi Saba issue sinasaksak. I think Robin Hood was at least one person who was trying to say bakit hindi sinasama yung Saba. Ano ba nangyari? Justice, what is the final product? Is this satisfactory?
Yeah, the final product is good. It was held because the pro-China people in the government tried to sabotage it because there are four important things in the Maritime Bills Act. One, it made into law the arbitral award. It included it. So
Embedded
any
into our
president cannot
constitutional
change
fabric.
that policy unless the law is repealed. And I don't think Congress will repeal that law. So it made into law the arbitral award. Second, there is a provision there on defining the West Philippine Sea because the admissive order of President Pinoy was lacking. The definition of West Philippine Sea did not include our extended continental shelf. Now, in the new law, the West Philippine Sea refers to all our maritime zones, which includes now the extended continental shelf. So that corrected the deficiency. Third, there is a reciprocity clause that if China does not honor our requirements for innocent passage, because under innocent passage, you must, like for example, if we
Innocent passage to what?
exercise innocent passage in China, in the territorial sea of China, China requires us to give prior notice that we are passing. But that's not an UNCLOS requirement. That's against the UNCLOS rules. So if China adopts that policy against us, we will also tell China, you have to give us also prior notice. In other words, we will accord the UNCLOS rights to countries that also afford us UNCLOS rights. It will be reciprocal. So China will now face a problem because if they don't accord our ships the same rights as we accord their ships, then they will have to notify us. So there is reciprocity, which is really what all countries should be doing. So I'm very happy that it's in our bill. If all countries adopt reciprocity, China will be isolated, and China cannot even go to the Mediterranean Sea, to the Baltic Sea, without complying with UNCLOS.
Did we get
So,
an inspiration on that from anyone? And obviously, we're talking about Hainan, right? We're not talking about their fake islands in the West Philippine Sea.
no, we're not.
Yeah, we're talking about Hainan and their actual territory, not the
Yeah.
Mambo Islands they
Yeah.
built. Did
So
we get it from another country, this reciprocity clause? Is there any other country that has something similar, Justice?
There's none. It's the first time.
Oh,
I
wow. This is
recommended
another
that
phase. Oh, wow. Congrats.
I recommended that it be inserted, and I'm happy that
Oh, wow.
they adopted it, because that's the one way to force China to abide with the UNCLOS. Because what China is doing, everybody abides with the UNCLOS, but China is not abiding with the UNCLOS. It's taking a free ride. So there should be reciprocity. And I hope other countries will follow this.
Well,
And the fourth is,
yeah, please, fourth, yeah.
we have clarified the internal waters that the waters seaward of our baselines are archipelagic waters, and there's still internal waters like Manila Bay are internal waters. So we have clarified we've more or less harmonized our constitution with the interpretation with the UNCLOS.
Thank you for the justice. So the APAT is, first of all, we embedded it into our constitutional order, speaking of the 2016 arbitral ruling. Number two, sinama din natin yung continental shelf, yung mga ibang
Yes.
maritime zones natin. Pangatlo, this is the unprecedented one, the reciprocity clause. Although the issue of reciprocity came up every time I was in Washington, D.C. on other issues rin, di ba? Yung
Yeah.
strategic investments, telecommunications,
Yes.
etc. But this
The
is right at
Americans
the end of the
finally
path.
realized that
Right.
they were opening their economy to China, but China was not opening their economy to the Americans. So
Exactly.
they said everything now will be subject to reciprocity. And that's also the position of EU.
Right.
On economic matters, trade matters, it will have to be reciprocal. All privileges, incentives will have to be reciprocal. So that's where I got this idea that we also, when it comes to uh, law of the sea, there should be reciprocity.
So this could be kind of a also inspiration for parallel legislations, right, on reciprocities, including strategic investments, etc. Diba? Now, if we allow China
Yes.
to invest in this sector, they should also allow us to
Yeah,
invest. Otherwise,
we've included this already in our amended Public Service Act. There's a
Public Service
reciprocity
Act.
clause there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
also recommended
Oo nga pala,
that
no?
be
Yeah, yeah.
included.
Public
That
Service Act.
because we
Opo.
opened up our telecoms
Correct.
to China, to all the rest, but
China Telecom.
it will have to be reciprocal, and China will never agree because for
Right.
them telecoms is a is a strategic industry for security reasons, national security reasons. They will never open it up.
Critical infrastructure. May question tayo dito on Escoda Shoal. What is the latest that we know, Justice, on the status of Escoda Shoal in terms of access? Kasi pinabalik na yung mga bata natin yung few months ago, di ba? We needed to, obviously, we don't have enough capital ships, flagships to sustain enough presence. Anong basa mo dyan? Yeah, what is the situation in Escoda right now?
Well, we have not returned to Skoda Shoal, Sabina Shoal. I don't know the plans of the Coast Guard or the Navy, but we have to one day go back there. Otherwise, China will be entrenched there.
Nakat ka ng sandali, Justice. Sorry, you were saying on the Escoda Shoal thing?
Yeah, well, we
China
have
will be
not gone back
entrenched
to
there.
Skoda Shoal. We have not gone back to Skoda Shoal, but we have to go back there. Otherwise, China will be entrenched there.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Justice. I know you must be exhausted. It was a long day for all of us. Habol din ako dyan, with other work. Thank you again, Justice. Is there something in particular that you want to emphasize before we close this fantastic conversation covering so many important stuff? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Well, I think we have to you have to think deeply what will happen to the South China Sea under the Trump administration because of those question marks. No? But at least from cabinet level down to everybody else, military, Congress, Senate, House of Representatives, State Department, they are on the same page.
Congress bipartisan din to. So at least
Yeah.
all the foundations are there. The only wild card is Donald
The
Trump.
president.
As always. Welcome to season 2 of the Trump Show. The Trump Show. My goodness. Excellent times, interesting times. Thank you, Justice Carpio, for another fantastic conversation. Hope to catch up with you soon again in the coming days and weeks, especially kung may updates tayo about ICC. You're quite optimistic, right? Again, I don't want us to hazard any speculation, but you think the direction of the wind is pwede mapin down talaga mga Dutertes, no?
Well, because of Duterte himself, because you can catch a fish through his mouth, and that's exactly what's happening now.
Well, it was the same mouth that declared war early this year, right? January this year, he declared essentially war on Marcos, and he's ending the year with the same mouth that is putting him in even more trouble. Beautiful, beautiful. I have no trouble with that. That was great, great guy, amazing guy. Salamat, Justice, and talk to you soon.
Okay.
Salamat po.